It is 3:14 a.m. You are awake. You stare at the textured ceiling, watching the shadow of a street lamp flicker through the blinds. You calculate how many hours are left before your alarm rings. 6 hours of sleep is okay, you tell yourself. 5 is manageable. 4, and tomorrow is going to be painful. You blame your stress. You blame the cup of coffee you drank at 3 in the afternoon, or the argument you had with a colleague. But you are looking in the wrong place. The primary cause of your sleeplessness isn't just inside your head, it is the room you are in. We tend to think of the bedroom as a simple, neutral space, a box containing a mattress where we power down like smartphones at the end of the day. But once you close the door and turn off the main light, you are entering a highly engineered environment that is actively fighting your biology. Your bedroom has a fundamental identity crisis. It is sending mixed signals to your brain, turning what should be a biological sanctuary into a high-alert transit hub. To understand why your bedroom is confusing your sleep, we have to look back at how we used to sleep before the modern world intervened. Most of us assume that a solid, uninterrupted 8-hour block of sleep is the natural default setting for human biology. But history tells a very different story. In the early 2000s, a historian named Roger E. Kirch published a landmark study after scanning centuries of historical documents, court records, diaries, and medical books. He discovered a widely documented, though still debated pattern of pre-industrial sleep, that people in these societies slept in 2 distinct blocks, known as segmented sleep. People would go to bed shortly after dusk. They would sleep for about 4 hours, a phase called the first sleep. Then, around midnight, they would wake up. But this was not diagnosed as insomnia. It was a completely natural, expected part of the night. For an hour or 2, the house would be quiet. People would read by candlelight, pray, talk to their partners, write down their dreams, or even visit neighbors. After this peaceful intermission, they would return to bed for their second sleep, which lasted until dawn. This biphasic sleep pattern was not a choice. It was driven by the natural rhythm of the planet. But in the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution and the invention of cheap electric lighting changed everything. Suddenly, the night was conquered. Work hours were extended and the period of quiet darkness shrank. Society demanded a new kind of efficiency. Workers had to consolidate their sleep into one single, massive 8-hour block. Waking up in the middle of the night was no longer a social intermission. It became a medical problem. We invented the term sleep maintenance insomnia to describe a biological pattern that our ancestors simply called being awake at midnight. By forcing our bodies into a monolithic sleep cycle, we set the stage for our modern bedroom struggles. And then we filled that bedroom with tools that broke the brain's conditioning. In clinical psychology, there is a fundamental concept called stimulus control. Our brains are masters of classical conditioning. When you repeat an action in a specific environment, the brain links the physical cues of that space to a specific state of mind. Historically, the bed was associated with only 2 things: sleep and intimacy. When your body touched the mattress, the brain immediately recognized the cue and initiated the sleep sequence. But look at a modern bedroom. Today, the bed is a multi-tool. It is a home office where you type emails on your laptop. It is a movie theater where you watch television. It is a social lounge where you scroll through Instagram. And it is a dining room where you eat late-night snacks. When you work or watch tense thrillers in bed, your brain registers the environment as a zone of high cognitive arousal. The bed becomes associated with stress, excitement, and active thinking. As a result, when you finally turn off the screens and try to sleep, your brain is deeply confused. It looks at the pillows and the sheets and asks, are we writing a spreadsheet, watching a car chase, or sleeping? This Pavlovian betrayal is called conditioned insomnia. You are physically in a sleeping position, but your environment is telling your brain to stay awake. And the confusion only deepens when we look at how we have inverted our relationship with light. Our circadian rhythm, the internal biological clock that dictates when we feel awake and when we feel tired, is governed by a tiny cluster of cells in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN. The SCN is entirely reliant on light cues to synchronize itself with the rotation of the Earth. For millions of years, the rules of light were simple. The day was bright and the night was dark. Today, we have completely inverted this cycle. We spend our days indoors, sitting in offices under blinds, exposed to relatively dim lighting. Then, we return home and spend our evenings under bright, white overhead LED lights, often exceeding 150 ILux, while staring directly into smartphones and televisions. This evening light blasts our eyes with blue wavelengths. In the early 2000s, scientists discovered a unique type of photoreceptor in the human retina, called IPRGCs. These cells have nothing to do with your conscious vision. They do not help you see the furniture in your room. Instead, they contain a light-sensitive pigment called melanopsin, which is tuned specifically to blue light. When melanopsin registers blue wavelengths, it sends a direct, urgent signal to the SCN. The sun is up. Stop producing melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that signals to your body that it is time to sleep. By lighting your bedroom like a midday office space in the evening, you are physically pushing your internal clock back by several hours. You might think you solve this problem by turning off the lights when you go to bed. You close your eyes, pull up the sheets, and assume you are now in total darkness. But your eyelids are not thick curtains. They are thin, semi-translucent membranes. Optics studies have shown that human eyelids are semi-translucent, allowing only a small fraction of light to pass through. While they filter out most short-wavelength blue light, longer red wavelengths slip through much more easily. But even that tiny filtered fraction is enough, because the cells containing melanopsin are incredibly sensitive. Consider the modern bedroom at night. It is rarely truly dark. It is littered with tiny, glowing LED indicator lights. There is the blue light on your phone charger, the green light on your Wi-Fi router, the red light on your television standby button, and the white glare of street lamps leaking through the edges of the blinds. Even with your eyes closed, this ambient light penetrates your eyelids. A landmark study from Northwestern University, published in 2022, showed that sleeping in a room with even a moderate amount of ambient light, around 100 lux, which is comparable to a dim lamp or a television left on in the room, has measurable biological consequences. The light passing through the eyelids activates your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight response. Even though you remain asleep, your heart rate rises, your insulin resistance increases, and your brain is prevented from entering the deepest, most restorative stages of slow-wave sleep. You wake up feeling tired because your body was running a low-level marathon in the dark. But light is not the only physical force your bedroom is mismanaging. The room is also trapping your body's heat. To initiate sleep, your body must undergo a process called thermoregulation. Your core body temperature must drop by about 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. To achieve this, your body dilates the blood vessels in your skin, especially in your hands and feet, dumping heat into the surrounding air. This is why you often feel a desire to stick one foot out from under the covers. A cool room, ideally around 18 degrees Celsius, acts as a heat sink, drawing warmth away from your body and triggering the release of melatonin. But modern bedrooms are built to retain heat. They are heavily insulated, double-glazed, and kept at a warm, comfortable temperature. And at the center of this thermal trap is your mattress. Over the last few decades, memory foam mattresses have dominated the market. Memory foam is made of polyurethane, a synthetic material that is a highly efficient thermal insulator. When you lie on a memory foam mattress, the foam conforms to your body, increasing the surface area of contact. This creates a seal that traps your body heat beneath you. The cooling gels and graphite layers advertised by mattress companies are largely marketing gimmicks. They absorb heat for the first 20 minutes, but once they reach body temperature, they begin to act as a heat reservoir. This heat trap becomes particularly dangerous during REM sleep, the phase of sleep when you dream, process emotions, and consolidate memories. During REM sleep, your brain temporarily disables your body's thermoregulation system. You lose the ability to sweat or shiver. You temporarily become, biologically speaking, a cold-blooded animal. If your memory foam mattress and heavy duvet are trapping heat, your body temperature begins to rise. Because your brain cannot sweat to cool you down, it is forced to protect you by pulling you out of REM sleep entirely. You wake up briefly, toss and turn to find a cool spot, and fall back into a lighter sleep. You might not remember these awakenings, but the mattress has systematically robbed you of your dreams. As you lie in your warm bed, you are also breathing in a chemical mixture that is slowly building up around you. Because modern houses are built to be energy efficient, they are highly sealed. If you sleep with your bedroom door and window closed, which most people do to block out noise and drafts, you are sealing yourself inside a small chamber with very little air exchange. Every time you exhale, you release carbon dioxide. Over the course of 8 hours, 2 adults sleeping in a standard-sized, closed room can easily raise the CO2 concentration from a normal outdoor level of 400 parts per million to over 2,000 parts per million. At these concentrations, the air becomes stale and mildly toxic. Research has shown that high overnight CO2 levels cause fragmented sleep, decrease the time spent in deep sleep stages, and lead to a significant increase in morning grogginess, a state known as sleep inertia. At the same time, your synthetic mattress is releasing volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, through off-gassing. These are the chemical byproducts of the manufacturing process: adhesives, flame retardants, and polyurethane. Your body heat accelerates this chemical release, creating a localized plume of VOCs directly in your breathing zone. Research suggests that breathing these compounds throughout the night can cause mild subclinical irritation of your airways, leading to microarousals, brief spikes in brain activity that fragment your sleep structure without your conscious knowledge. And as your brain struggles to find rest, it is also scanning the environment for threats. Look at the layout of your room. Many modern bedrooms feature a large, flat-screen television mounted directly opposite the bed. Even when the television is turned off, it remains a giant, dark, empty rectangle dominating your field of view. To your modern mind, it is just a blank screen. But to your evolutionary brain, sleeping directly facing a large, dark void triggers a subtle, ancient vigilance. For millions of years, sleeping in front of a dark cave opening or a deep shadow was a lethal mistake. It was the exact zone from which a predator would strike. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detector, registers this dark void and remains on low-level alert, keeping your body's stress response active and preventing you from entering the deepest states of physical relaxation. In a desperate bid to solve all these sleep problems, we have turned to technology. We strap fitness trackers to our wrists and slip smart rings onto our fingers, hoping that data will save us. But this has created a new psychological disorder: orthosomnia. Coined by sleep researchers, orthosomnia is the obsessive anxiety of achieving perfect sleep data. You go to bed worrying about whether your tracker will show a high sleep score. You wake up in the morning, and instead of asking your body how you feel, you check your phone to let an algorithm tell you if you rested. If the app shows a low score, you immediately feel tired and anxious, triggering a release of cortisol that guarantees you will sleep poorly the following night. The tool designed to track your sleep becomes the very thing that destroys it. And when morning finally arrives, your bedroom delivers its final physical blow: the alarm clock. An alarm clock is a violent interruption of a natural biological process. It does not care where you are in your sleep cycle. It frequently blasts you out of a deep sleep stage or a REM cycle, shocking your cardiovascular system and flooding your body with adrenaline. This sudden transition leaves your brain half asleep, forcing you to navigate the first hour of your day in a state of cognitive fog. The modern bedroom was designed for comfort, convenience, and technology. But in our quest to build the perfect room, we built a space that systematically confuses the human brain. We created a room that is too bright, too hot, too toxic, and too full of distractions. To fix your sleep, you do not need a more expensive mattress, a smarter tracker, or a louder alarm. You need to restore the room to its evolutionary purpose. You need to turn your bedroom back into a cave, a cold, dark, quiet, and minimalist sanctuary that makes no demands on your attention. The next time you lie awake at 3 in the morning, looking at the ceiling, don't fight your brain. Turn off the glowing LEDs. Open the door to let the fresh air in. Throw off the heavy blankets and let the room fade into the background. Because the best bedroom is the one your brain forgets is even there. If you want to understand more about the hidden systems of daily life, subscribe, because next time we'll look at a luxury experience that almost always ends in a stressful morning rush, and the hidden countdown you have no power to stop.